Welcome to Faith and Freedom 250. Today, we're exploring classical Christian education, a model with centuries of proven success. Unlike many modern approaches that prioritize test scores and workforce skills, this education model focuses on forming the mind, character, and soul. Let's go through the history of classical Christian education and its enduring relevance across our great nation.
Modern education often emphasizes test scores, standardized skills, and career readiness. Those goals are important, but too often they overshadow attributes like wisdom, virtue, and faith. Schools today can fill students' days with knowledge and life skills, yet neglect the formation of character and spiritual growth in their rush to advance students to the next level. Classical Christian education is very different. It aims to nurture not just scholars, but disciples, not just minds, but souls. It combines timeless curricula with biblical foundations to prepare students for life, both practical and eternal.
The roots of classical Christian education stretch back thousands of years to ancient Greece and Rome. Long before the Christian era, these cultures trained youth how to think, not simply what to think. It was a method based in reason, logic, study, observation, and curiosity. This is the model that produced luminaries like Aristotle, Cicero, and Alexander the Great. Instruction occurred in two key realms of education: the quadrivium, where students learned arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy to build societies and explore the world, and the trivium, focused on grammar, logic, and rhetoric, preparing students to reason, debate, and persuade. Together, these cultivated thinkers, builders, and leaders whose influence endures today.
Many early Christians were exposed to the classical model of education due to their proximity to both the Greek and Roman influences around them. When these early Christians encountered classical methods, they adapted them with scripture. Logic was paired with biblical lessons. Church fathers like St. Augustine and St. Jerome used these methods to transform classical education to classical Christian education. This model continued for centuries. The medieval university system throughout Europe was built on the classical Christian model. Faith and reason were inseparable, giving students the tools to understand Scripture, their place in the world, and their hope for salvation.
Classical Christian education crossed the Atlantic with the earliest settlers. Reading, arithmetic, wisdom, and scripture were taught together to early colonial students, shaping not only skills, but character and citizenship. Faith was central. Ministers and churches led early schools, ensuring moral and intellectual formation. Even Harvard College reflects this vision with its motto, Veritas Christo et Ecclesiae, truth for Christ and the church.
Our founding fathers understood that building a new nation required more than literacy or technical skill. Moral virtue and reason were essential. John Adams famously wrote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people." Education needed to form both the mind and the heart to ensure America's success.
But by the 19th century, the common school movement led by Horace Mann shifted the focus. Standardized curricula, compulsory schooling for all children, publicly funded education, and a civic-minded model of training the youth became the norm. In the 20th century, to address the mass immigration movements, education focused on socialization and integration of students from around the world into an American melting pot. The state and advancement became the focus at the cost of individual and spiritual formation. Classical Christian education faded from the forefront of education across America for decades.
The turmoil of the mid-century America and all social upheavals it brought was followed by a rebirth of interest in classical Christian education. This occurred in much the same time frame as the renewed interest in homeschooling and other movements. Influential works such as Dorothy Sayers' The Lost Tools of Learning and Douglas Wilson's Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning helped introduce rigorous academics within classical Christian framework. Organizations like the Association of Classical Christian Schools were formed and aimed to unite academic excellence with faith, emphasizing harmony of truth, goodness, and beauty in learning.
New curriculum was developed and focused on the great books of Western civilization, passing on timeless themes and cultivating an appreciation for lost knowledge and wisdom. Classical languages such as Greek and Latin were reintroduced, as well as lessons on rhetoric and logic. At the core of the education model was Christ in every discipline, The goal wasn't just academic achievement, but forming students who were wise, virtuous, and capable of reasoning for themselves.
Classical Christian education does far more than standardized schooling. It teaches discernment, humility, reverence, and critical thinking. Students develop intellect, faith, and character, prepared not only to succeed in society, but to lead with wisdom and stand for truth.
It has been said that education is never neutral. It either leans towards truth or away from it. Classical Christian education is built on truths that have guided society for millennia. If our goal is to raise wise and faithful citizens, returning to this proven model is not merely an option, it's a necessity.
By returning to a classical Christian education model, families can equip students not just for careers, but for life, to think, to reason, and to live with wisdom and virtue. Thank you for joining us on Faith and Freedom 250. We'll see you next time.